I mean, minutes to approve, that seems to throw me off, not having to do that. First thing on our agenda is review of the public hearing.
It went well.
It went. Anybody got anything to say about it? Because nobody showed up to say a word out of 300,000 people in Rutherford County, close to, and
Yeah.
not a single person felt like they ought to have any input. But that shows a lot of trust in us, I guess, as I said last night.
I thought it went great.
Did a good job, huh?
Slideshow was great.
Yes, it was great.
That reflects on the mayor and the budget and finance department and the work they did to put going to that. It makes our jobs easy. But so that kind of covers reviewing the public hearing, I say. We're going to skip down to number 3, other business on the agenda. And we've got one budget transfer the county mayor is bringing forward. And we'll handle that before we go over the budget. So, Mr. Mayor, you want to present your case on
Okay.
this?
We had a little bit of discussion about this at the last public safety meeting and in the condition of the parking area and all of the entranceway there at the Las Casas Volunteer Fire Department. Property that the county does own, but those of you that have been there a few times know how bad that situation is with those serious potholes. But anyway, Mr. Piercy had talked to Mr. Brooks, our highway department, to see if they would come on up here, sir, please. Thought they would be in the scope of their work, and of course, if we could get them to do it, it's certainly going to be a lot less dollars. But they have gone out there and they've actually looked at this, measured this, and evaluated this, and given us a price. And they're in a little bit of a window of opportunity in that they're sort of between now and July the 1st, they're sort of caught up on everything. They don't have any real money left yet they can spend. So they prepared this estimate, which would be basically an invoice to county general, because they can do the work, but anything that costs material and otherwise, somebody has to reimburse them, that being us. So for $29,603.69, they have a couple of weeks here they could work on this and probably get this done before July the 1st, and they start back into their normal work. We don't have any money from which to get this anywhere. I don't even have any money left in this so-called miscellaneous fund that you guys have privileged me to use, so we've spent all that for other departments. So we're here just asking you if you will allow us to move $29,700 from unassigned fund balance, which we don't like to use that word, to site development, to get this in a condition that's years overdue. So, Mr. Piercy, anything else you want to tell them?
It's really long overdue. We've got county-owned fire trucks out there running in and out of a road that's worse than most people's farm roads. It's water standing. It needs some drainage issues tended to, so the water will shed on the way. I think it would be an investment in our future to go ahead and get this fixed now, keep from having to do truck repair in the future. If they continue to run over, they're going to tear up our brand new fire engine that the county commissioners have placed out there. I think it really needs to be addressed. It's not a large sum of money, but yet it is tax dollar money. I very well understand that. And I would really appreciate it if y'all could see to help us get this repaired.
I don't have any problem, voting for this. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve it. But I do want to mention that, this is county-owned property, and these are people that are doing service for the county. To me, that's a no-brainer. It's our parking lot. It's our road going in and out of there. What frustrates me is that we have so much problem getting our county highway department, not that they want to do it, it's just the way the states line this up. We can't work on our own property, and that's frustrating to me. It's costing us more. This money wouldn't be costing us this if the state would stay out of it and just let us do work on our own property, and that's not happening.
But they're of course, all of us know they're only authorized to do work on roads or in their road book in county roads. So that's the. But we're reimbursing them at cost, basically. It's really, we probably couldn't get this done for half again this amount of money.
I'll second it if you need a second.
Second, Commissioner Bond.
How much area again is this going to cover roughly?
Well, it's a pretty big area. When you come
Pretty
in,
large area. It goes from the state pavement entrance all the way to the building, and that
then back a little bit
And
around.
back on one side, it widens up pretty wide on one side. It'll dress it up and make it really look nice for the county, you know, to be a fire department.
Again, will the whole area of the convenience center be?
The convenience center's on down the road a little
Yeah.
bit further.
Okay.
Okay, and it is paved down at the convenience center already. We did that.
And this will go to the full commission tomorrow night, so
Yes,
they
sir.
can start to work ASAP. by
Right.
first thing next
Monday
week.
morning. Monday morning.
He said it could start Monday if we could get everything lined up.
Well, that's a good project, it's county property, and they're paying the money back to the county within the highway department, so anything that happened to be above actual cost is then back in county funds anyway, so it's more or less just a cycle of funds there. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Ball?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioner. I
tomorrow
really
night, they
appreciate
start
it.
work.
Last Cassie's thing. Thank you, Mayor Burgess.
All right, well, we'll go to the review of the 2017-18 budgets that's necessary. Ms. Nolan.
Okay.
We've all got a handout, I believe.
And hopefully I've punched holes in everybody so you can stick it back in your notebook. Page numbers are in 2 different locations, whichever way you have to turn this page. I received new assessments from the assessor, and usually I try to do this at the very last moment to see if there's any changes. You know, in many years that I don't, but this year it was enough. He added over $65 million in assessment, so it's worth going back and adjusting revenues for that. So that is page 1. Interesting, it's general fund penny, $681,873, school penny, $582,74. So we'll add $388,000 to county general, another big one, $400,000 to debt service, $684,000 to schools. Okay, so the second page is the assessment summary that I get. I thought maybe you might be interested in what that kind of looks like. The personal property, there is a factor where you have to reduce it to 90%, 90.5% of their value. Equalization ratio is what that is. So we move to the general fund.
Can you
don't have one?
answer us, tell us what a couple of these abbreviations are, just for the heck of it?
I'll try. I may not know.
FRAT, that doesn't stand for fraternities, I know, but it's zero. I mean, that's a nonprofit of some kind, or?
If there's a market appraisal and then the assessed is assessed to zero, then it's like it's tax
Government
exempt.
or, yeah.
I'm not sure what other codes are, but we have to we pick up the ones that they have all the properties. Interesting to note the difference between real property that are IDB. I mean, they do keep up with all of it, but we only tax the property without. So, and as you know, Commissioner, I mean, as Mr. Mitchell sent his email, you know, it's like, you know that they still have to go through the County Board of Equalization, and they're still adding and subtracting. I mean, it kind of goes up and down. This is the snapshot. Our delinquency is set at 44.5%, but Ted has collected 98%. So there's some room. I feel like there's some room. Did I miss that?
I'm just getting the page up. Don't let me stop.
Oh, okay. So, anyway. Hopefully we'll, you know, the estimate's still going to be a good estimate by the end of that story. So we move to the general fund. And you see on the top on the revenue with that increased in assessment of $388,000. That brings our new revenue total to $89,253,517. We go down to the appropriations. We've got 4 line items that we need to discuss. The very bottom one is $7,800 adjustment to the trustees commission, and that's the 2% of this additional revenue that we're adding to take care of that. The top bolded one, 8,060, that was a change from HR. We want to go ahead and take care of that. We were going to take care of it at the end of the year, but since we know about it, we might as well fix it now. And I'll let the mayor take over the next two. But it has to do with it.
How far down did you get?
We've already addressed everything.
All those
So-
down there.
So the
Okay.
the 8,000 is
The
for
HR.
HR, and the very bottom was trustees commission. So really, what they
Okay.
have not heard are the next two.
She's giving you the big ones.
All right, so, and we have support here in that the sheriff is here and his chief administrative assistant, Preble Acton, is with us. 5 years have elapsed since we last took bids on our medical services for our inmates at the jail, at the work center, and at the juvenile detention center. So we issued RFPs, and we've taken those bids. We have not been able to get, we hadn't had time to, we're going back to the purchase committee with our recommendations. We did have 5 bidders, and each bidder was required to bid all 3 of those, so we'll have 1 provider for all of our 3 locations. Initially, we had put in your budget request here, our current year's budget plus 5%.
I think we did 10. We did 10.
Did we go 10?
We did 10.
Okay, so we even did 10%. That's not enough money. We're sorry to report to you that we have reviewed these 5 proposals in great detail, trying to compare apples to apples. And it's going to turn out, after we look at apples to apples, that the lowest bid is going to take, for the medical services at the jail, another $1,136,150. And at juvenile detention, it's going to take $69,000 more than we had put in this budget initially. We'll make that recommendation on the 20th, as I said, to the purchasing committee, and I think they'll likely accept our evaluations and our recommendations, but that's a large amount of money, and we have to do something about it now, and this is why we're bringing this to you at this moment. So if you have any detailed questions, we've got the sheriff and Ms. Acklin here with us, but they've done a lot of homework, all of us had, and we've had an extensive discussion about it, and this, we think, is our best judgment on the provider that's going to do this for us. Everything we've asked them to do, and it's clear, and this is the lowest bid.
What's the percent increase on that from last year's? I mean, that's a tremendous amount of
It
money.
was
I mean,
over,
the
it was
percent
over 4
increase.
million, it's about 25%.
But the workhouse is okay.
The workhouse is pretty much in the, yeah.
Which that just seems odd to me. I guess they put the bulk of their increase, the sheriff's raises. And if you want to come up here and join us.
Sure, I'll try to
All right,
explain more.
but I just, I would have expected a percentage increase across the board. And it looks like, a little bit hit juvenile detention, most of it hit the jail.
Well, the scope of what happens at those other 2 locations is really, really small. In fact, juvenile detention, the medications, there are no prescription drugs that even cover, because they have to be furnished by their family, their parents, or otherwise.
That's correct.
So this is
Oh, go ahead, I'm
all
sorry.
inclusive. You go ahead now. You take over.
What happens on this is when you get into a situation where someone is dependent on formulary drugs, or there's a medical condition that they have got to be 24-hour coverage or have got to be looked at, those people are transferred back to our facility. Even when we transfer somebody to the workhouse, they're vetted from a standpoint of medical. And so when they only take those that is not requiring 24-hour care.
So very minimal.
Very minimal care. So this would be care that would occur during the day, minor type of situations and so forth. If we've got one right now, we're trying to transfer to state that is requiring extensive care for cancer. We have to keep those. HIV, if it requires anything other than the normal care and everything, then they come back to us. So that's why it's a minimal impact on the work center, is we receive everything coming back to us where it's requiring quite an extensive formulary on drugs or quite an extensive medical care. So we end up housing and we take back from them if that turns into that type of situation. And so that's why it hits us most. And there's a cap that comes into outside medical care if they have to go outside of the facility to a hospital. or to a doctor or whatever, other than the existing doctor, for some specialty treatment, then that goes into what we call a cap. And that cap all comes under us also, as opposed to the workhouse or juvenile. So that's part of why the big part of it is ours, is because of the cap. And then the charges that occur on the medical side, we're kind of like the receiving end for all of that comes back to us.
The workhouse can hand them back to you, but there's nobody for you to hand them back to.
That's
You're kinda stuck
correct.
with them.
I'm stuck with them. The only time that we can get in a situation right now is where if you've got an acute medical care and it's a state inmate, then what we do is start negotiating with them for bed space. Of course, they've got to have the bed space to take them. So they're ours until we can get that bed. We were able to transfer last month 25 to the state. So I mean, we're very diligently working trying to get that. And then this cancer patient now, I think we're going to be successful in transferring them, but sometimes it just takes a little time. Of course, we have to absorb that cost when that happens.
Just question is, what happens when the detainee comes in and they have cancer, or they're already are pregnant or something like this? We're still responsible for
Yes, sir.
that as long as
Yes,
they're.
sir.
So if you don't have insurance or something like that, it would behoove you to, and you had some problem, to go out and commit a crime that would get you into jail.
Well, we don't like both sides of it, but the other.
There's some, I can see that, and some will do it, I think.
I mean, unfortunately-
I've heard it told before that if you
Yeah.
need some sort of procedure, you'll get picked up and the county will take care of
Well,
it.
unfortunately, the problem is we're mandated, the sheriff's office mandated by law to provide the nursing and so forth. If you read the law far enough, the county is mandated to provide the doctor. So anyway, it's going to come back to us. And that's very clear in the statute as far as how that works. So it's not a matter of do we, it's a matter you shall. So that's unfortunately the problem when you get into the detention facility. That's this part of it that goes with it, and it comes at a high price.
I'd assume that's basically nationwide also.
Yes, sir, it is.
Commissioner Pete?
This amount, I know that in the past, Dr. Rhodes had this contract.
Yes, sir.
Would negotiate down cost, for, say, an inmate that went to treatment somewhere else. But my question is, do we always spend the entire budget that we, I see Preble nodding over
Yes, sir.
your shoulder.
We do.
Yes. So that was my question. If we'd always max, whatever that number is, we're gonna max that out.
Yes, sir.
On the outside services, we've come really close to that number the last few years. Exactly. Sometimes it's a little over, sometimes a little under, but it's right on the
I have those numbers, man.
$1.4 million outside numbers.
We've got a number, I mean, we have spent hours looking at these RFPs and dissecting, and I think we've got one, what's a 400 or 500 page. We've torn these things all apart trying to get out what is the best cost.
That's the cost for the last 3
Yeah,
years.
last 3 years breakdown on the catastrophic part, which is over and above the basic contract, was 1.379 in 2014, almost 1.3 in 2015, and 1.8 million last year.
So these numbers pretty much in line with what we've seen the last 3 years.
Yes. And we've been operating under a 6-year, was it 5 or 6?
5, I'm sure.
5 for sure, contract that's 5 years old, so we've been operating
The outside services
5 years and not,
in these numbers is still the same, at 1.4.
yeah, so that's still capped.
We're responsible for whether it comes in over or under. But internally, these drug costs are skyrocketing, and that's a huge part of the base services.
Well, I know several years ago, there was some federal legislation that came down that actually a person who'd been in armed services, he was put in jail instead of being able to go to the VA, they were exempt from being able to use the VA. Has that changed? I was thinking that they had looked at it,
No, I don't think so.
so we have a veteran, we still end up putting the
To my
cost.
knowledge, I think that's still correct.
What, how long is this contract good for?
It'll be a 3-year contract, renewable after 3 with the year to year. And of course, I think there's, in each of the ones that we've looked at, pretty consistently, there's a 3% escalation clause in it from year to year for the first
That was
3.
in the last one too, something like 3% per year?
Yes.
And the one we're just finishing?
Yes.
So this year we put in 10% for the 6th year, but we've
were-
been putting in 2 to 3% each year.
The biggest problem we had in looking at this is having a contract that was 5 years and not having bid it for 5 years. We really didn't know, I mean, we all know that healthcare costs are escalating. We just didn't know what to put in, so we figured, well, let's try 10, hoping that it would be somewhere in the ballpark. And as it's turned out, I mean, we didn't hit it. I mean, we missed it. So, unfortunately, the problem that we're into is that we're into a mandated by law, something that we have to provide. We don't have a choice.
And realistically, by being 5 or 6 years into this contract, we've probably saved the county money.
Oh, there's no
If we had
question
bid
about
this
it. No question
2 years ago, we just paid $6 million 2 years ago, and
No
the years in
question.
between.
Of course, one of the things we look for, and we're looking very hard even in these contracts, is that what we don't want to do is when we send somebody to a hospital, is turn them over to a hospitalist. We want to maintain control in our facility as far as how long they're there, and somebody's checking and make sure that they're not there any longer than we have to, because that's costs that are going to the cap, not included in our contract. So we want that managed very carefully, because we could blow it out of the water.
We've seen that happen.
Yes, sir. We have.
On this outside care cap, I'm assuming that's for things like surgeries, things beyond just standard medical care. When we pay those, are we paying retail rates or do we get a discounted rate on those?
It's a discounted rate.
Okay.
Now,
Well,
The current provider.
The current provider.
Negotiates really, really hard with these hospitals and.
okay, so they're negotiating on our behalf.
That's correct.
To get those numbers down.
Right.
Okay, that was a big concern. And then did we change the scope of the contract at all with them? This contract, their performance is exactly the same as it was?
What they're providing,
What
yes.
they're providing.
Same staffing.
Same staffing, same.
But again, the cost of these drugs, when he tells you we got a cancer patient, we're not talking about $100 a day, we're talking thousands of dollars,
Right.
tens of thousands in a month. It's major dollars.
So one of the things, and I'll just mention this because I think Dr. Rudd did mention this, I don't remember which committee he was in, but you all are reading where they're wanting to push where we do preventative Hep C treatments. And if we get into that, where that is mandated by federal law, and of course everybody's fighting that right now, I don't know if any county's going to have enough money to pay for it. So it's things we're having to watch and very carefully in the healthcare system.
Do we have enough active patients that it would be worthwhile for us, or maybe perhaps he already has one, for us to employ a medical case manager to have somebody to help manage that care? Because in the outside world,
And the doctor manages, he is the case manager for us now.
okay, but there are medical case managers who look at best practices, who look at providers of services, and they try to direct you to that shortest length of stay, that
Well,
lowest cost. And so
that's why everything that we did on the RFP is we asked for an inclusive, all-inclusive bid, because what that does is it forces a managed care. Because this is your contract, this is all you're going to get out of it.
So he's guaranteed that number.
Yes. Well, we've looked at on all 5, and that's what we are comparing is on all 5 is one of the factors that we're looking at is why we bid it as being all inclusive. If you don't do that, then you get into a situation where you may have a contract on the front end, but you're paying on the back end because so much is pushed at this cap.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we have to watch very carefully for is what are we paying for in the contract versus what's being pushed to the cap.
And when they're pushed to the cap, who's managing that care? The doctor's continuing to manage that same care, that same
Well, the
patient?
doctor is, yes. Whoever, and I say the doctor is whichever who is successful. It'll be how is it written in that contract is how it's going to be managed. And that's one of the other things that we had to look for is not only in the contract, but how is it going to be managed?
Right.
If we don't, you can put and we say cap, but it's really is a cap is 1.4 million, and what we were billed for outside of the contract falls in that cap. But if it goes over that cap, we're paying it 100%.
Right.
So it
Right.
doesn't mean that we
Yeah, it's not a stop loss.
we stop
Yeah.
at this $1 million figure or whatever it is on the cap. It just means this is what we're managing to stay in this cap. But if it goes over that cap, we're paying it 100%.
I
And
guess,
it's us.
I guess part of what I'm thinking is, it sounds like you've put in a lot of the right safeguards. But the other thing I'm thinking is, would it be worthwhile for us to have someone who's knowledgeable in this industry to almost kind of be like our internal auditor to make sure that they're doing the very best they can with this population?
I think at this point, by the way that we're looking at on the RFP and everything, it would be an added expense.
It would definitely be an added expense. I'm just
would-
curious.
My thinking now is it would not be necessary. If we are looking at it right in the bid and whatnot and how we're going to look at this, I don't see that would be necessary. I think it would be an added expense. It's not
Right.
necessary. That's my view on it.
Right.
I know where you're
Right.
going with
Right.
that, but that's one thing while we've looked very hard at these RFPs is to make sure that we've got that built into that. Because the way I look at it, regardless, we can cap, we can talk about the 1.4, the 2 million or whatever it is, it's our money.
Right.
And so we've got to be assured of how our money's being spent and that somebody is watching it. And trust me, we're watching it.
Commissioner Schaefer?
If I'm not mistaken, just from the initial figures that I heard when the bids came in, that the high bidder was over 5 million for the same care, wasn't it?
It
The high
would
bidder
be,
was
no, sir, the
seven.
high bidder would have been probably closer to $7.5 million, $8 million.
For the same thing?
Yes, sir.
So we can see
Yes, sir.
the range on it.
Yeah, it's eyeballing, and of course, the thing that we've had to do is you look at a set of numbers, then you've got to read the other 399 pages because there's other numbers in there that you've got to pull out of there and really get to what is it that we're really talking about. And that's what we've tried to do.
What happens if this low bidder, if they, say on drugs, if they botched the bid? What they put down for it just turns out to be way under what it actually comes. That's
It's
their
going
problem?
to be costing them money.
Okay.
It's their problem, yes, sir.
In years past, from what I've heard, the current provider has done a great job of negotiating these bills down when these people go to Nashville hospitals or whatever. Is that service included in all these bids? Because, I mean, I'd hope that you all and the purchasing committee will look at, and I think you
Well,
are looking at full
I
package.
guess I'm
'cause if somebody-
trying not to say too much because I really haven't been before purchasing to present
The wrong
our
person could
findings.
cost us hundreds of thousands of
Trust
dollars
me.
right there in one.
Yeah, I
one-
guess all I
just on
can
that one
say
service
is
right there.
we've looked at that
Yeah.
and we've taken that into consideration. And that's why we didn't take just the numbers that we saw as far as contractual numbers. We were looking at the other numbers that were throughout the bid of where it was either sign a contract and then we'll negotiate, which no, we're not going to do that. So that's what we've had to look at is to see not what, to try to get these to be apples to apples, we had to look at a lot more than just a number.
I just remember a few years ago, there was a patient went to Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken, and the bill was several $100,000.
Oh, yes, sir.
And before Dr. Rudd had negotiated down, we were into pennies on the dollar almost.
Oh,
He got
it's-
through. And so I remember it lingered for a while. He kept on, from what I heard, at the budget level, beating on him and beating on him.
Well,
beating on him.
that's-
Finally settled it for
Yes,
10 cents on a
and
dollar.
we have
something like
looked at that and taking that into consideration of what we're looking at on these 5 bids. That's where we're trying to get it down excuse me, apples to apples to make sure that there was not, I hate to call it hidden costs, but I don't know what else to say about it, a hidden cost that was throughout the RFP.
That could be,
And that, to me,
An
was
even
more
bigger number,
important than
yeah.
looking at just what was the number. And we've done that. I guess I'm trying not to say too much because I haven't been before purchasing to tell them what our final look is. And,
when they talk about juvenile detention, it's just all in that same package right here we've talked about.
Yeah, the same thing. They had a very small number base from which to start, and there's really nothing else to say except that's the best bid we got.
That is,
What's
We need action.
is there a red flag that goes up to you, and if so, who does it go to when a patient is gonna start costing money that's gonna start hitting that cap? Like, who generates that information to you? Like, if somebody in the doctor's office says, hey, Preble, or hey,
well,
Sheriff?
we've got people right now with Dr. Rudd, and I can speak to that because he's there now. He has a staff there at the jail, and one of the things that their job is to look at the cost. The other thing is Dr. Rudd comes in and almost on a daily basis, and especially if we've got one in a hospital or in some outside facility, and he looks at that and he is negotiating. He is our case manager, and he is negotiating with the hospital as far as how long you're going to keep them and making a decision to get those people back to our facility.
I just didn't know how frequently they give you reports or information on
We're in-
who's in active care.
we're in
you know.
constant
So
contact.
daily, you know which patient.
Well, we know that, plus the fact that anybody that goes outside of our facility has to go through booking, and we have a record of them going out, where they're going, and then we get a daily report that we've got so-and-so at Vanderbilt, we've got so-and-so at St. Thomas, so we get that, we get 3 reports a day. First shift, second shift, third shift, and that's on that report. So we know that we've got somebody else.
And do we put a guard with them? I guess we would have to.
We have to.
Around the
yes.
clock?
Yes, if they're a inmate from our facility, then we have to guard them, yes.
And that's not in this number?
No.
No, okay.
No, that's just in our
just
budget.
personnel,
That's-
right.
That's transport. Now, we have what we call cross-trained people from detention, and we will send them. And that's at a lower cost than a deputy sitting with them. So we take that into account also. The other thing we try to do too, and very honestly, if we've got somebody and if it's a low-end charge, then we contact the judge and see what ROR them.
I got you.
And we do that constantly. And if it's a type of charge where we can do that, then we will ROR them, and then the charges are on them. And we do that frequently too.
We've had, when cases are brought up against the facility out there for medical wise, we've had a pretty good success rate on winning those cases.
Right now, to date, and of course we've got, I think, maybe 2 or 3 that involve Dr. Rudd right now, but to date, he's not lost one, as far as from the medical side. We may have other issues, from detention, but from a medical side, we've not lost a case.
Do we need action at this point in time? Or
Yes, I mean, as far as adding these items
do we need
into
any
the budget.
discussion on all 4 items?
I think you could do them all at once.
Do we need any
Just do it
discussion
here.
on the $88,060 from HR?
That was a change that didn't come on the first
Okay.
group. I mean, that was just part of the salary
We
survey.
haven't, but we haven't done that yet, so we
No.
don't.
Right.
And those in
Right.
dark,
Okay.
bold down there, all 4 of those need to be added.
Is there any discussion on these 4-line items? The $88,060 and $1,136,150, $69,000 and $7,800 for the trustees commission. Any discussion, or will entertain a motion?
The 51,800, that's maintenance. I think the other ones are identified. Jail, juvenile detention, trustees commission is in the other. Those are the particular budgets those fall into.
I'll make a motion that we approve as presented and correct the budget.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan. Any further discussion? I know it's not comfortable, I don't think we have a whole lot of choice here.
We gained 388,000 and lost $1.2 million.
Your hands on the limit, son, yeah? No further discussion. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Ball?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, our appropriations total $97,342,521. Page 4.
Before you jump on, so what's that gonna leave our unassigned balance estimated at? for the coming year?
$17,113.
That's to start out.
That, well, yes.
What's not
To
assigned.
start out next year.
Right.
That's our estimated ending, which at this moment is 17.5% of the appropriation. Page 4 just is the same information. I guess what I want to show you, kind of direct your attention, this is as of May 31st. Just looking at where we started the original budget for the current year. Revenues at 86 million, appropriations at 92.2. We plan to use 6 million fund balance, but for the adjustments that we've made, we've really are reducing to our total fund balances by 9,323,000. 323. So, you know, as I'm pulling this, it's like, what did we do? So if you go to the next page, page 5 is what we've done. I'm just doing this to remind you what we've done during the year. We had a planned reduction in the unassigned fund balance of $6,159,000. So I'm not going to read all these, but this is just mostly, I found it beneficial just to remember what we did during the year. And actually, I had forgotten during our public hearing to add that we added not only the sheriff's, it was 19 positions, but we also added another position in the environmental. You were talking about, Mr. Bitchie was talking about, what happens if we overspend that 1,400. Down at the bottom, that 64,120, that was a settlement from the year before where we had exceeded what we had set up. All right, page 6.
I have just one question. Part of the HR expense, the 10,000 there for the evaluation and testing, was because we've had such a high turnover rate. Do we think now with the salary adjustments that perhaps that number might go down?
I think Sonia's here to speak to it, but part of that is just, hopefully. But I think she's got some other things in mind that she's put through steering to help recoup some of those costs too.
We got an approval from the steering committee and then the full commission to do in-house drug testing for pre-employment. We're still going to do the randoms and post-accident, at a controlled environment. We just feel like it's safer, but the pre-employment we're going to do in-house. That's one of the things that we're looking at. And then there's some other things that we're looking at to help offset some cost to make sure on the physicals. What happened is when we added in several new firefighter positions and several new law enforcement, and the physicals for a firefighter is very expensive. It's like $550 for a physical because they have to have a lot of special testing. So because we added some new positions and because of turnover, we incurred some additional, those are high dollar costs. So anytime those physicals that we get are usually high dollar. And so that's what has caused an uptick in the things that we're doing. So.
All right, page 6, is the reductions from either restricted or committed funds. You look at that and remember all these that we've done. And page 7, I don't want to go too fast.
One question I got so far is where you put the two sets of numbers on these papers.
It's so that if you look at it this way, or you look at it this way. Let's see that.
Well, mine's got different numbers.
Do you
Some of them.
really?
So that's
Like which one
making
is
it a little
that?
hard. So go back to
5
number
and
11.
5.
Page
Oh,
4.
Bottom got cut off.
Yeah, the copier was cut off.
It's actually a 4, but it looks like an 11
Yeah.
because the bottom
Yeah.
part of the 4 got cut off.
Oh,
but
okay. I don't mind.
Next time, just give me the original and you take the copy.
Okay,
It says.
you do that. Or put them in a different location.
I kept looking, and I said, well, that's not the right page number, but there's a,
Okay. All right, page 7, just kind of updating us on the development tax and showing here using development tax for that memorial, that additional 100,000. I told you I would do that so it wouldn't be a reduction of the unassigned. Page 8, sanitation, there's no changes there. Those numbers didn't change. On page 9, 118, that you'll see the increase for the assessments adds $41,434 to their revenues. $119, no changes, that's on page 10. $121, page 11, there's no changes. Drug fund, there's no changes on that on Fund 122. Page 13, Fund 131, shows the increase for the current levy on the increased assessments, adding almost $7,900 in additional revenue for them.
that's still, that hasn't gone into what the government's been requesting yet. So
Right.
there's still numbers we'll see in the future, I assume.
I assume that as the revenue, we'll have already adopted it, so probably at the end of next year, we'll see if there's,
Well, the
I don't know,
money-
when does it come into effect?
It's effective July the 1st, so substantial monies will come in. That's
Throughout
how
the
it's
year.
projected here.
Okay, that's what I thought if it was only the
But I don't know whether they
7,000,
pay after a quarter or after
7,800,
6
yeah.
months. I don't know when they
When
send
they
the money.
collect, when they send.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that wasn't gonna go very far helping us on some of these projects, but
And they'll probably, as the money comes in, maybe
It'll be-
add projects as they come in.
It'll be about $1 million plus or minus.
Okay. So in Fund 141, adding the increased assessments adds $684,677 to their revenue budget.
There's our penny back.
There's your penny back.
You're welcome.
Okay, centralized cafeteria, there was no change. 177, that's increase of $37,611 to their revenue. And debt service, I'm adding 116 for the increased assessments, and then the 8,000 for the trustees commission, to bring their appropriations to $48,068,468. And probably need a vote on that one because that has, yeah.
Debt service question. You said you added 675 to it?
Added,
Well,
no,
first, for the
the first
penny.
one was moving the penny, the next one was
Yeah.
added
Well,
assessments.
That wouldn't be 6,000 more since the penny's worth more now?
That's picked up in the 400,000.
It's picked up in that increased in assessments.
So we need to approve this.
The appropriations.
The trustees commission.
Yeah, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
No, I
Oh,
just
no,
added
that's
that
right.
today.
You added the penny, that's right. You just added the penny before we didn't change.
Right.
Commissions.
Well, I added the 13, yeah, I did that, but now I've added the 8.
Well, we have a motion approved by Commissioner Fee. Do we have a second? Commissioner Jernigan? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Ball?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peak?
Yes.
Commissioner Shackler?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Okay, so with all those changes, our total estimated revenues is $547,427,594. Appropriations, $563,235,000. Our revenues are under our appropriations by $15,807,000. Our ending unassigned fund balance, $107,510,000. You still meet your stated policies. Meet or exceed your policies. But if you really want to move any money out of the debt service to general fund, I wouldn't complain a bit.
We don't need a motion to approve this.
You've approved every one of these.
It's all been approved, so.
Yes, everything, I mean, we've individually done we've done all of these. We've gone over the revenue estimates, the current rates, 268. With what you adjusted before.
So we don't necessarily have to have a motion to approve, but if anybody wanted to do any
Make any changes,
now's the time.
now's a good time to do it. Because what we will be coming forth with Monday is the appropriation resolution. That's why I had each of, make sure that we've done each of these, and that's what we'll bring forth to you. That and the tax levy resolution.
Well, any suggestions, or?
All right, it is what it is.
Or it is what it is? Going once, going twice. Not hearing any motions. Is there any other business come for us tonight?
So, our next meeting is,
It's not on this piece of paper here. Put it back.
There's two. One's a meeting date and one's a schedule of events.
look at that one.
Oh, he's got to be on.
It'll be on that note
It's
there.
Monday, June the 19th.
Yeah, I think it's on this page.
Oh, okay. There you go. That's
Monday, June 19th. It's Monday, not Tuesday.
So there'll be some current year budget, some more amendments at that time.
Yes, and I think what we're going to send out to you, Friday, I think we don't know what amendments are coming. We feel like we've got this one. No, this one tonight's going to commission tomorrow.
There's a few
No, we'll
more
be sending it out to you
floating
tonight.
Oh,
I think Jeff will have some amendments also,
you've got 4. Okay.
additional amendments.
But between now and Monday, there may be some that pop up.
One for fire, we know already.
through. Yeah.
It's just a small transfer in between salary accounts, it's a transfer.
And we'll be reviewing all the salary accounts again one more time for one last opportunity to,
Oh, I'm sorry, one for election too,
Okay.
it's a move between election workers and part-time.
we just don't want to have any salary accounts to be over.
Anything else they deal with tonight? Okay. Any pancake breakfast or anything this weekend? Well, we got tomorrow night, we can have that then. If we've got a commission meeting tomorrow night, will everybody be right back here again? But if not, we are adjourned, and we'll see everybody back in this room next Monday night.